What's your name and date of birth?
I don't have to give that unless
Yes, sir. I was investigating.
You have reasonable.
Do you want me to put you in handcuffs right now? It looks like you're carrying a gun in your back pocket. I'm stopping to make sure you're carrying it properly. You don't have
you ensured that it's not a firearm?
Can a standard walking cane legally constitute reasonable suspicion for a tactical stop? When does a lawful refusal to provide identification cross the line into resisting without violence? What are the multi-million-dollar consequences for departments that fail to recognize the rights of a disabled citizen?
What's this in your back pocket? I just saw you walking it.
It's a navigational aid. What's the problem? You a tyrant?
James Hodges, a retired U.S. Navy veteran, was simply making his way home from jury duty when he was intercepted by Columbia County deputies. The initial catalyst for this high-stakes encounter was an officer's inexplicable belief that the silver walking stick in his back pocket was actually an assault weapon. This fundamental misunderstanding of a mobility aid set the stage for a massive civil rights violation that would eventually cost the county millions.
What's your name and date of birth?
I don't have to give that unless
Yes, sir. I was investigating.
You have reasonable.
Do you want me to put you in handcuffs right now? Yes, sir, I do.
Almost immediately, the deputies shifted their focus from the weapon to demanding Mr. James's personal information, including his name and date of birth. Recognizing that the officers lacked a legitimate legal basis for a Terry stop, James stood his ground and refused to provide his identification. He understood that without reasonable, articulable suspicion that a crime had been or was about to be committed, he was under no legal obligation to comply.
What is your suspicion?
It looks like you're carrying a gun in your back pocket. I'm stopping to make sure you're carrying it properly.
Seeking clarity, Mr. James repeatedly asked the officers to identify the specific crime he was suspected of committing, so that reasonable grounds for detention could be established.
Have you ensured that it's not a firearm?
No, you keep turning so I can't see it. You don't have to be a to me.
Well, you're being one to me.
Despite his calm and direct inquiries, the responding deputy failed to provide a valid legal justification for the detention. This lack of communication from law enforcement intensified the friction, as a citizen attempting to exercise his constitutional rights met a wall of silence.
No, sir, I'm doing my job.
Am I detained?
Yeah, you are. What's your name and date of birth?
It does not matter.
Yes, sir, it does.
Do you have a crime?
Would you like me
Call
to
your
put
supervisor,
you in? He's right
please.
here.
Once it became clear that the deputy intended to maintain the detention without cause, Mr. James took a decisive step by requesting a supervisor. He recognized that the officer had no basis to hold him and believed a higher-ranking official would rectify the situation. However, the initial officer continued to hold him, ignoring the fact that James was fully aware of his rights as an American citizen.
What'd she stop you for? For a walking stick. And it could look like a weapon. She asked you to present it, okay?
In an attempt to reach a more reasonable official, Mr. James walked toward a second patrol vehicle, hoping the other officer would comprehend the legal error being made.
Now she's asking me for ID. Okay. I don't need the ID unless there's reasonable, articulated suspicion that I have committed a crime, am committing a crime, or about to do a crime.
He essentially took on the role of a teacher, attempting to explain the nuances of the law to the deputies as if they were pupils. Despite his clear explanation and the fact that he had already shown them his walking cane, the deputies remained focused on his non-compliance. The tension reached a breaking point as the officers grew visibly frustrated with being lectured on the law by a civilian. James was no ordinary passerby. He was a respectable veteran and a citizen who had just finished serving his community as a juror. The deputies' inability to accept a lawful challenge to their authority began to overshadow the fact that no actual crime had occurred.
Sir, are you legally blind? Yes, I am. Okay.
During the heat of the encounter, Mr. James explicitly informed the deputies that he was legally blind. He explained that his visual impairment was the reason he required the walking cane to get around safely. This critical piece of information should have immediately de-escalated the weapon's suspicion, yet it seemed to have little impact on the officer's determination to force his identification.
I had to walk up here in the dark for jury duty, which was canceled. Why aren't you using your stick? You don't have to use your stick all the time? Not all the time.
All right, Mr. Hodges. Was that hard?
It's gonna be. I want your name and your badge number.
You know, put him in jail for resisting.
Okay.
When the supervisor finally arrived, the outcome was the opposite of what Mr. James had hoped for. After the deputies forcibly seized his identification card, the supervisor reviewed the situation and instructed the deputies to place him under arrest. The veteran, who had sought a supervisor's intervention to protect his rights, now found himself being handcuffed for charges that seemed entirely baseless.
All right, let's go.
I want your name and badge number 2, sir. I'm going to pull this out of my back pocket.
Sure. Here, I'll grab your jacket for you, too.
The situation culminated with Mr. James being officially taken into custody and placed in the rear of a squad car. This arrest marked the beginning of a long legal journey, as a man who had done nothing more than walk home from court was now facing the booking process at the Columbia County Jail. The charge brought against him was resisting without violence, a common catch-all in cases of disputed authority. Following his release, Mr. James filed a formal complaint detailing how he was held in a cell for over 24 hours. He alleged that the entire ordeal was fueled by the deputy's perception that he was being disrespectful for knowing and asserting his legal rights. This period of incarceration for a law-abiding, disabled veteran served as the catalyst for a federal lawsuit that would soon bring national attention to the department.
Tonight at 5, a visually impaired man arrested in Columbia County is now planning to sue the sheriff's office.
James eventually held a news conference to ensure the public understood the gravity of the civil rights violations that took place that day. He emphasized that while he is not a man who seeks out conflict, he believes citizens must oppose unlawful orders issued by law enforcement. He called for better training for officers to ensure they understand the legislation they are tasked with enforcing, specifically regarding citizen rights.
As far as justice in my own personal case, judging from the response from you people, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it.
The lawsuit filed by James's attorney sought massive compensatory damages for a wide range of grievances. This included compensation for physical pain, mental anguish, the loss of liberty during his 24-hour stay in jail, and the public embarrassment of being arrested. Most importantly, the suit aimed to hold the county accountable for the blatant deprivation of his constitutional rights as a protected American citizen.
On November the 3rd, Mr. Hodges requested body cam footage of the incident. During the review process, prior to it being released, a likely policy violation was discovered. Since the incident involved a patrol sergeant, the patrol lieutenant and captain were made aware of the incident. The patrol lieutenant and captain were directed to investigate the incident further and began that day, November the 3rd. Mr. Hodges had not yet filed a formal complaint when the patrol commanders were instructed to investigate this matter.
As the case gained public momentum, the Columbia County Sheriff attempted to manage the fallout by issuing a statement regarding their internal investigation. The department claimed an investigation was already underway before the formal complaint was filed, but for Mr. James, the damage was already done. With multiple clear violations of citizen rights, the momentum of the $4.5 million lawsuit became an unstoppable force.
The administrative investigation concluded the afternoon of 11/7, and allegations of policy violations against these two deputies were sustained. As a result of these findings, Sergeant Harrison will be demoted immediately, suspended without pay for 7 days, and will not be eligible for any favorable action for 2 years. Deputy Godey will be suspended without pay for 2 days. Both deputies will be required to undergo remedial training pertaining to civil rights.
Ultimately, the internal investigation led to the deputies involved being sentenced and charged for their conduct during the arrest. The sheriff eventually issued a formal apology to Mr. James, taking full responsibility for the agony and trauma his deputies had caused. This apology, while significant, came only after a legal battle that highlighted the high cost of ignoring a citizen's basic constitutional protections. The legal outcome was a decisive victory for James Hodges. The Columbia County Sheriff's Office accepted full responsibility for the conduct of the deputies, resulting in a $4.5 million settlement paid to Mr. James for civil rights violations. Furthermore, the internal investigation concluded with the arresting officers being sentenced and charged for their actions during the encounter.